today. I'm just going to add it in the same video. And I was talking about finishing some stuff up with the PT and then moving over to the Monte. Well, with the Monte, forget what I did, but I'll go back and watch it. But I did something with the PT the other day, just buttoned some stuff up over there. And I will be throwing up a series. I thought it was going to be like a 3-4 part series, but it's turned into longer than that. A lot of stuff going on with the motor swap. I know it's not what the channels cater to, so I'm not expecting too many views. It's more, it's related more towards the G bodies, so I'll still make content on the G bodies. I'll just be throwing out about 7-8 videos on the PT, while still throwing up videos with the Monte and the Elco. But as far as today, I'm going to come out and mess around with the Monte a little bit, work on some fuel lines, and just some stuff in this general area. So what I'm thinking, I pointed out I got this adapter piece, and just looking at it, it's going to be a tight fit in there if I were to throw it in. So I'd have to pretty much get the threads seated all the way in, and I think it'd still be a little too much as far as the height goes. Let's see, because that's what it would look like. It'd be too close to the throttle body, and I don't even think it's the throttle body, I think it's the actual intake. So I did want to throw that 90 adapter in there and then run the sensor just from that, but there's not enough room with this intake and this fuel pressure regulator, so I'm gonna have to go back to the original plan on just running the sensor right before the fuel rails. Probably could do it up front, but then I'd have to get a different angle on the adapters and everything, so I'll just run in the back. I know it's not going to give me the most accurate reading about the fuel pressure at the regulator, but it'll give me a pretty good, it'll be pretty close to what's going on there. I know it might be a little bit of a PSI drop, maybe 1 or 2 between the fuel rails, for it to get to the regulator, but I'll just for it a little bit. Like I said, it's just due to spacing. That's the only reason. So I was going to take the intake off and get that adapter on there and throw the sensor on there, because I was thinking, like, even with the sensor in there, it'd be pretty close on just rubbing the bottom of the intake, so that's a no-go there. I think I'm going to come out and at least get the return line started. I might get these started also. I have enough fittings for those. Still waiting for the next order of my fittings to come in, so I could probably get started on these fuel lines here, and then get the return line started also. And then while I'm at it, well, that's why I was going to take the intake off too. The vent lines or steam port lines, coolant lines, whatever you want to call them. There you go. Up there's 2 up front, and then 2 on the back, 1 on each head. So I got that kit in, and in order to do it, I don't think I could do it with the intake on. I just have to piece it all together, feed it through the intake, and then connect each side. So I'll throw that on, and then I'll probably get started on just making a few of these fuel lines up front. At least these 2 up front to the fuel pressure regulator from the fuel rails. Everything else I might hold off until I get all my fittings in, and then I might start measuring some out and getting some stuff cut to length. But as far as putting them all together, really can't do that until I get all my adapters or fittings in. So that's the plan. I'll cut you guys back on once I get what do they call it, LS Steam crossover hose kit. Once I get that installed, I'll cut you guys back on, let you guys see how that fit, and then I'll get started on cutting up some some of the fuel line. So I did open up the manual brake kit, and I will have to make 2 new brake lines or bend these up a little bit. I think it'll be a cleaner look if I make 2 new ones, or just cut these down and reflare them. But we'll see when we get to that point. That'll be a video on its own. But for now, just trying to get the fuel system buttoned up. So that's pretty much a quick look at it. You got a T fitting here and a 4-way here. This would also be the front. This will go into the radiators. Little steam port here. It's where a lot of people run them. But with these spacers I got for the water pump, there's actually a fitting right there. And I could just run it there with the turbo. Well, turbo's not going to be in the way. So I'll probably run it here anyway, instead of trying to route it all the way up into the radiator. I'll just run it back right into here. Just have to get the fitting for this. And then it does not come with another one off of here. So I have to figure something out. It'd be a couple inches of line. So that's pretty much it. I'll run it through just the bottom after I tighten everything up. Run it through there. And has all these. So there's little O-rings in there. Those will go on the bottom of here. And then just the bolt will go through there. And they'll just sit right in here. So I'll get those ran through, and then I'll come over and work on the fitting for the return. Work on that line. And then I'll come and just make these 2 lines right here, and that'll probably be it for the day. Nothing too crazy, just something simple. But I got this in, and then with the PT, waiting on the headlights to come in so I get the bumper and everything put back on. But like I said, the PT is going to be its own series. I'm not expecting too much from it, but at the same time, I'm still going to give you guys the What was that? What was that? You're going to be on YouTube. Have a good one. But yeah, just gonna keep working on the Monte. And I forgot what I was talking about. But let me put this stuff on, and I'll cut you guys back on once everything's on. Alright, so these vent lines, it took me a little bit longer than it probably should have. I knew from the picture I was going to have to adjust this front one and maybe not use the T up front, and because of the fuel pressure regulator. So it kind of happened that way. I knew I was going to have to modify a little bit. I could have went with the less expensive kits, but I've learned my lesson from the Elko. That one still leaks a little bit, so I decided to spend a little bit more. This is the ICT billet one. And like I said, I kind of knew from the pictures I might have had to run the lines a different way with the fuel pressure regulator being here. I thought about this is how it's ran in the picture: the longer line on this side, the shorter line on the driver's side. So I ran it that way, but instead of running the 4-way here, I just ran the 3-way. So the line that's going to go to the steam port or the water pump or the radiator, it's not up front, so that's just the 3. I actually have the 4-way in the back here, so eventually I'll have to order probably a 180. I think they're -3 lines or AN3. So order 180 and just run it back towards the front. But the one thing that I did notice was, I think it was this one, I ended up stripping this one. So instead of using these ones with the Allen heads, I decided to use the stock bolts. So I didn't use the stock ones. The ones with the Allen heads, they would have set flush inside of here. But since I stripped that first one, I didn't want to go back and have it happen again. So I went with the stock bolts here. And the reason it's stripped, which I wasn't paying attention, is these little fittings here. The stock ones really doesn't matter. Well, that's just a block off one. I don't think I have the other one. So that's just a block off one. But on these, the opening is facing forward instead of back. Same thing on this side, it's facing forward instead of back. So this is the one I stripped right here beyond the alternator. But got lucky and got it out. But before, I had them switched around where these openings were facing towards the rear. Same thing with the front, or with the rear ones. You want the front ones facing out, and you want the rear ones facing towards the firewall also. Well, the front ones will face the front of the car, the rear ones will face the rear. Because if you do it the other way around, this head bolt right here, if you had that line facing the other way, the head bolt will get in the way. So when you're trying to tighten it down, you put too much force on it because it's caught up on the head bolt. So that's why you want those facing out instead of in. And that's the problem I was running into. So got that fixed. I decided I'm gonna wait for my fittings to come in before I get started on the fuel lines. And probably just call it a day out here. Like I said, the weather, it's about to start probably coming down here in a second, so I'm gonna go ahead, get inside. It's starting to get a little chilly, grab something to eat. But yeah, once all my fittings come in and the other AN wrench, once that comes in, I'll knock out the fuel system. And then waiting to hear back from a buddy about the header. Like I said, I'm not in a rush, but once I get the header on and see if everything else fits, I might have to spend a little bit more money on a low profile thermostat housing. I've been looking at that, and there's one company that I've seen that makes a low profile one that should fit, but I'm just being cheap right now and don't want to spend the money on it. But once I get all that stuff figured out, I'll get back on making some brackets for the intercooler. And so once the header comes back, get all that and get the intercooler on, pretty much the whole turbo system will be done. Everything with the motor will be done because the fuel system should be done. I made a phone call, or made 2 phone calls yesterday, one to Painless and one to American Auto Wire. And just from the conversation, I think I'm going to lean more towards the American Auto Wire for my wiring harness for all the lights, turn signals, brake lights, all that. I think I'm going to lean more towards them. And then, of course, go with the Holley Terminator X Max for the engine stuff. So it's getting close. But yeah, it's starting to get cold out here. Like I said, the weather's about to start. You guys can hear the thunder in the background. So yeah, let me put this down, and like I always say, if you guys have any questions, just let me know. Pretty much covered the whole build so far. So I've had people message me lately about stuff that I've done a while ago, and even stuff on the Elco, like the T5 to the 5.3 combo. People have been messaging me, asking me questions about those. So if there's something I haven't done yet that you guys want to see me pay more attention to, just let me know in the comments. You can hit me up on Instagram. Everything's under Dash's Garage. And when I get to that, I'll try to pay a little bit more attention to it. But as of now, that's it.